Peace be with you. I am Uncle Ivan, and today I'm bringing you this week's Christian faith news highlights. My channel focuses on topics that are harder to explore deeply in church settings or subjects that are more complex, perhaps more academic, yet extremely important. You are very welcome to use these videos for fellowship groups or Sunday school. If you need any particular topics, please let me know, and I can also provide some training support. On December 1st, 2025, Chung Chi College Divinity School at the Chinese University of Hong Kong held a lecture, inviting Professor Emeritus Loren Pfister from Hong Kong Baptist University to share his new discoveries from years of research on 19th century sinologist and missionary James Legg's The Sacred Books of China. Professor Pfister pointed out that when Legg translated Chinese classics between 1879 and 1891, he was not merely doing linguistic work, but attempting to dialogue with Confucian and Taoist thought through the lens of biblical faith. From his prefaces and annotations, we can see how he both respected Chinese tradition while contemplating how the gospel could enter this cultural soil. This research reminds the Chinese church that early missionaries were already attempting contextualization and cross-cultural theology. Today, when we face local religions, philosophies, and values, we can also return to these historical materials to learn how to remain faithful to Scripture while seriously listening to local thought, allowing the gospel to take deeper root in the Chinese world. In early December 2025, Rome hosted an international conference themed Artificial Intelligence and the Care of Our Common Home, co-organized by the Centesimus Annus Pro Pontifex, CAP, Foundation and the Strategic Alliance of Catholic Research Universities, SACRU, among other organizations. Attendees included leaders from industry, finance, education, and media. The conference coincided with the publication of a new book on AI and social ethics, exploring how to maintain human dignity and the concept of common home amid economic development and digital transformation. During the conference, the Pope met with delegates, reminding the church and the tech world that artificial intelligence cannot be used by only a few to seize power and wealth, but must become a tool to serve all, especially protecting the most vulnerable groups. These discussions show that global Catholicism is actively participating in ethical discussions about AI, not just critically, but also seeking constructive guidance to help society remember that humans are created in God's image amid the technological torrent. Meanwhile, Protestant and evangelical academia are increasingly thinking about the relationship between AI and theology, including how to discuss Imago Dei in the AI era, ethical boundaries of algorithms and automated decision-making, and how the church can use technology well without being led by technicalism. These dialogues show that Christians are not passively watching technological development, but actively participating in its direction with faith. In December 2025, the important journal of Taiwan's theological community, Taiwan Journal of Theology, published its 52nd issue with ecology and context as the special topic, collecting multiple articles on ecological theology from biblical, theological, and local cultural perspectives. Some papers discuss the ecological ethical turn in the era of global boiling, dialoguing Christian ecological theology with indigenous Taiwanese land concepts, and reflecting on how faith can concretely bring about environmental concern using local church practices as case studies. Other articles connect ecological ethics with gender contexts starting from female imagery and the virtuous woman in Proverbs, presenting diverse and nuanced theological perspectives. This issue shows that Taiwanese churches are not only talking about personal salvation, but seriously facing issues like climate change, land justice, and indigenous contexts, attempting to use theological language to help believers understand the crisis and calling of the created world. For the Chinese church, this is also a demonstration. The gospel concerns the entire created order, not just human souls going to heaven. In the Chinese world, many theological and academic groups have increasingly focused on technology's impact on humanity in recent years. Some seminars specifically start from theological anthropology, discussing issues like artificial intelligence, gene editing, and neuroscience, asking a fundamental question. In the era of rapidly developing AI and biotechnology, what exactly is humanity? These dialogues usually touch on several focal points. When machines can learn, imitate, and even partially replace human decision-making, what unique dignity does humanity, created in God's image, still possess? When technologies like gene editing and brain-computer interfaces begin to transform body and mind, how does theology discuss creation, free will, and soul? How should the church avoid both panic and blind optimism in public discussions, instead using scripture and tradition to provide careful ethical frameworks? These interdisciplinary dialogues may not make mainstream news, but have great impact on future pastoral care and ethical teaching. They are quietly paving the way, helping the church in the technological age not just use technology, but think theologically about what kind of people we want to become. Besides ecological topic journals, theological seminaries and research institutions worldwide continue to speak out in the public sphere, particularly in reflection on war, authoritarianism, poverty, and injustice. Some scholars are reorganizing the church's historical traditions of just war and peace, while others explore from a public theology perspective how the church bears witness on democracy and human rights issues. This work may not attract attention like breaking news, but is quietly shaping the church's intellectual direction for decades to come, helping believers discern what true justice and peace are amid international conflicts, online public opinion, and political polarization, ensuring theology doesn't just stay in the classroom, but becomes the backing for believers to speak in public spaces. And for the Chinese church, these international theological discussions are also an invitation, not just passively accepting Western voices, but joining this dialogue with our own contexts, including authoritarian memories, immigrant experiences, and Eastern cultural backgrounds. Church tradition includes the veneration of St. Peter's chains, commemorating Acts chapter 12, where Peter was bound with chains in prison. The church prayed earnestly for him. God sent an angel to wake him. The chains fell off. Iron gates opened automatically, and he walked out of the prison. This story later became, in church history, a symbol of the gospel breaking chains. In 2026 today, no matter how much political pressure, technological anxiety externally, or how much bondage of sin and fear internally, this passage still speaks to us. There is no chain that Christ cannot break. Church history repeatedly proves that when God's people pray in unity, dark powers cannot forever imprison God's servants, nor can they seal the mouth of truth. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 28. Therefore, since we are receiving a kingdom that cannot be shaken, let us be thankful, and so worship God acceptably with reverence and awe. In this age full of shakings, may God help us to seriously participate in this world's academic, technological, and public dialogues on one hand, while not forgetting on the other. Our true foundation is that unshakable kingdom. If you have questions about today's information or other content and want to learn more, please leave comments below. Thank you for your support. I hope you can subscribe, enable notifications, and share to help this channel continue. And to learn more, you can also visit my Patreon. Let us together know God, think about faith, and live out Christ.